The day my son kicked me out of my own house broke my heart in a way I never thought possible. I stood in the small garden I'd tended for decades, clutching a single rose, its petals trembling in the chilly Birmingham air. My name is Lillian Trent, 76 years old, and that house on Maplewood Avenue was more than bricks and mortar. It was my life's work, my pride, my sanctuary. I remember the day I got the keys 38 years ago, when Duncan was just a boy. His wide eyes sparkled as he ran through the empty rooms, shouting, "Mom, is this really ours?" I'd smiled, my heart full, and said, "Yes, sweetie, it's ours." Now, standing in the garden, I felt like a stranger in the place I'd built. Duncan, my only child, stood on the porch with his wife, Priscilla, their faces cold as they told me I should move to a nursing home. "It's for your own good, Mom," Duncan said, his voice flat, like he was reading a script. The rose in my hand felt heavy, its thorns pricking my skin, a reminder of the pain I couldn't escape. I'd worked most of my life as a merchandiser in a department store, not a fancy job, but it paid the bills after my husband, Harold, ran off with a secretary. Left with a baby and a mortgage, I swore I'd never depend on anyone again. Every month, I saved a little, invested small amounts at first, then more as I learned about stocks and markets. I read financial magazines, went to free seminars, and by 45, I'd paid off the house. By 50, I had savings. By 60, I could have stopped working, but I kept going to stay connected with people. No one knew about my money, not my friends, not my coworkers, not even Duncan. After Harold's betrayal, I kept my finances secret, a shield against the world. Maplewood was my haven. 2 floors for bedrooms, a garden where my roses and dahlias won local prizes. I'd host tea parties with neighbors, laughing over cups of Earl Grey. Duncan grew up there, went to college, got a job at an insurance company. Life was steady, quiet, until he met Priscilla. She was all charm and perfect nails, but her smile never reached her eyes. They dated for 6 months, got engaged, then married in a cheap restaurant with a quick honeymoon in Cornwall. I didn't mind. I just wanted Duncan happy. But 5 years ago, they came to lunch and changed everything. "Mom, you're alone in this big house," Priscilla said, her hand on mine, her voice too sweet. "We're paying so much for our apartment. Why don't we move in? We'd help you, and we could save for our own place." I felt a twinge of doubt, but Duncan's hopeful eyes won me over. "Just until we save up," he said. I nodded, thinking it'd be nice to have them around. They moved in 2 weeks later. At first, it was good. Duncan fixed leaky faucets. Priscilla cooked when I worked late. We watched TV together, laughing at old sitcoms. But slowly things shifted. Priscilla rearranged the living room, saying my furniture was outdated. My photos vanished from the shelves, replaced by her porcelain figurines. My dahlias, my pride, were dug up for modern landscaping. Duncan shrugged off. "Mom, no offense, but those flowers looked old-fashioned," he said, not seeing how his words stung. I bit my tongue, not wanting to fight. But soon they took over the second floor, including my bedroom. "It's hard for you to climb stairs, Mom," Duncan said, his concern fake. "This way, you won't strain yourself." I moved to the small study downstairs, my world shrinking in my own home. Rules crept in. No loud TV. No laundry after 8 p.m. No guests without warning. I felt like a tenant. One day, I came home to find Priscilla rummaging through my dresser. "What are you doing?" I asked, my voice sharp. "Oh, Lillian," she said, not even blushing. "I was looking for old photos to show my mom." I knew she was lying. The albums were in the living room closet. I started locking my door, and Duncan noticed. "Mom, don't you trust us?" he asked, hurt in his voice. "I just want privacy," I said, avoiding his eyes. "We're family," he snapped. "Families don't keep secrets." I almost laughed. If only he knew the secret I'd kept for years, my savings, my investments, my independence. The final blow came one spring day. I was in the garden, the sun warm on my face, when I heard voices through the kitchen window. How much longer will she last? Priscilla said, her tone casual. Don't say that, Duncan replied, but his voice lacked conviction. I'm just being practical, she went on. The house is paid off. When she's gone, it's yours. We could sell it, move closer to the city. My heart froze. Duncan didn't argue. Maybe you're right, he said after a pause. We could suggest a nursing home. It's not safe for her alone. I stood still, the world blurring around me. My son, my boy, was planning to push me out. That week was torture. I acted normal, but anger burned inside me. Duncan avoided my eyes, while Priscilla left nursing home brochures on a coffee table. At dinner one night, she smiled sweetly. Lillian, my aunt loves Sunset Gardens. They have 24-hour care activities. I sipped my tea, keeping my voice calm. How old is she? 83, Priscilla said. 7 years older than me, I replied. Does she have health problems? Arthritis, some dementia, she admitted. Interesting, I said. I have neither. My last checkup was perfect. Duncan coughed, staring at his plate. Mom, no one's saying you need a nursing home now. We're just planning for the future. My future or yours? I asked. Silence fell. Priscilla's smile faded, and Duncan's face hardened. We're worried about you, he said. I didn't believe him. The air in the house grew thick with tension after that dinner. I sat in my small room, the one Duncan and Priscilla had pushed me into, staring at the walls that once held my favorite photos. Now they were bare, just like my heart felt. I couldn't sleep that night, my mind racing with memories of Duncan as a little boy, clinging to me when he was scared, promising he'd always take care of me. Where had that boy gone? The next morning, I found Priscilla in the kitchen, making coffee with that fake smile plastered on her face. Good morning, Lillian, she said, her voice too bright. Sleep well. I poured my tea, ignoring her tone. Where's Duncan? I asked. Work, she said, not looking at me. Lillian, we need to talk. I sat at the table, bracing myself. Go ahead, I said, my voice steady but my stomach twisting. Priscilla leaned forward, her eyes sharp. It's hard for you to think about moving, I know, but it's best for everyone. You can't live alone in this big house. I stared at her, my anger bubbling. Best for everyone, or best for you and Duncan? I asked. Her smile faltered, a flash of anger in her eyes. Lillian, let's be honest. You're 76. You can't manage alone, and Duncan and I want our own life. Without burdens, you mean, I said, my voice cold. I didn't say that, she snapped, but her eyes gave her away. I set my cup down. Priscilla, this house is mine. I bought it, paid the mortgage, kept it standing. You can't maintain it, you say? That's funny, since you tore up my garden and pushed for a new heating system when the old one worked fine. Her face went pale, then red. We wanted to make it modern, she said, her voice rising. For us, not me, I said quietly. She stood, slamming her cup down. You're selfish, Lillian. Duncan's your only son. This house will be his someday. I took a deep breath, keeping calm. Maybe, but not today. She stormed out, the door banging behind her. That evening, Duncan came home early, his face grim. I was reading in the living room when he sat across from me, Priscilla hovering nearby. Mom, we need to talk, he said, his hands clasped tight. Sure, darling, I said, closing my book. He looked nervous, like a boy caught stealing cookies. Mom, this house is too big for you. We're worried. You need care. I raised an eyebrow. Care? Since when? I'm healthy, Duncan. You know that. Priscilla jumped in. You forget things, Lillian. The gas, the days of the week. I laughed, sharp and bitter. That's a lie, and you know it. I've never left the gas on. You're making things up to push me out. Duncan's face flushed. Mom, stop. Priscilla's trying to help. We can't live like this, fighting all the time. I looked at him, my heart aching. Duncan, 5 years ago, you said you'd move in to save for your own place. What happened to that? He looked away, muttering, Prices went up. We can't afford anything. But you can afford my house, I said. Without me in it. Priscilla's eyes narrowed. It's perfect for us. Paid off, spacious. Why can't you see that? I stood, my voice firm. Because it's mine. And I decide what happens to it. Duncan's face twisted, a mix of guilt and anger. Mom, I'm your son. Your heir. This house will be mine someday. Why not now? You could move to a nursing home or a small apartment. My chest tightened like a knife had been plunged in. You want me out of my own home, I said, my voice barely a whisper. Mom, don't be dramatic, he said, but his eyes wouldn't meet mine. I looked at them both, the son I'd raised and the woman who'd changed him. Fine, I said, a strange calm settling over me. I'll leave, but the house stays mine. You can live here, but it's not yours to sell or claim. Priscilla's jaw dropped. What? That makes no sense. We can't fix up a house that's not ours. Then move out, I said, shrugging. Find something you can afford. Duncan's face fell. Mom, that's not fair. We've been taking care of you. I laughed, the sound bitter. Taking care of me? When did you last ask how I'm doing? Or care about my birthday? You've pushed me out, Duncan, and now you want my home. He went pale, his mouth opening, but no words came out. Priscilla stepped in. You'll end up in a nursing home, Lillian, where you belong. I looked at Duncan, waiting for him to defend me. He didn't. Is that your final word? I asked. He nodded, shame in his eyes. It's best for everyone. I gave them a week to process it, but I knew I wasn't changing my mind. I packed my things, books, photos, the china I'd collected over years. I met with my lawyer, updated my will, and talked to my financial advisor about investments. I found a new place, a luxury apartment at River Plaza, downtown Birmingham. It wasn't just a home, it was a fresh start. The day I left, I loaded my suitcases into a cab. Duncan and Priscilla watched, confused. Mom, are you really leaving? Duncan asked, his voice small. Yes, I said, putting on my coat. Keys are on the table. But where are you going? He asked, worry creeping in. To my new place, I said. Priscilla gasped. A nursing home? You arranged it that fast. I smiled, sharp and sweet. No, darling. River Plaza. Duncan's eyes widened. That's the most expensive complex in the city. How can you afford it? I buttoned my coat. I've always been able to afford more than you thought, Duncan. 40 years of work, smart saving, good investments. I'm not the poor old mom you imagined. Their faces froze in shock. I walked to the cab, my heart pounding but light. The driver loaded my bags, and I slid into the back seat. Where to, ma'am? He asked. River Plaza, I said, my voice steady. But first, the bank. I have an appointment with my advisor. As we pulled away, I didn't look back. For the first time in years, I felt free, like I'd shed a heavy weight. River Plaza was everything I'd dreamed of, spacious, modern, with a view of the River Severn. The first night, I stood by the panoramic windows, watching the city lights. No one told me the TV was too loud. No one moved my things. This was my space, my rules. I called my friend Eleanor, who laughed when I told her. Lillian, you're incredible. River Plaza? How long have you been hiding this? Too long, I said, smiling. Come see it. You won't believe the view. My first week at River Plaza felt like a dream I hadn't dared to dream. I woke up each morning to sunlight streaming through the panoramic windows, the River Severn sparkling below. The apartment was quiet, peaceful, no one banging around or telling me to turn down the TV. I could leave my cup on the table without a sigh from Priscilla, or cook what I wanted without her judging my old-fashioned recipes. I spent those early days unpacking, arranging my books and china, making the place mine. But the real thrill came when I decided to do something bold, something I'd always wanted but never thought I deserved. I called my financial advisor, Thomas Clayton, a man I'd trusted for 15 years. Good morning, Mr. Clayton, I said, my voice steady but excited. I'm thinking of buying a car. A sports car. There was a pause, then he said, Mrs. Trent, are you sure? Those cars are expensive to maintain. I smiled. I know, and I can afford it. What do you recommend? He listed options, but my mind was already set. What about a Porsche? I asked. Another pause. Well, they're reliable, prestigious, but very sporty. Stiff suspension, low stance. Perfect, I said. I want something special, something that feels like a new start. He arranged a visit to a Porsche dealership the next day. I felt a spark of excitement, like a kid planning a secret adventure. That evening, I went through my closet, picking an elegant ivory pantsuit, a silk blouse, and my pearl necklace. I wanted to look the part, not like the poor old mom Duncan thought I was. Eleanor came over for tea, her eyes wide when I told her my plan. A Porsche, Lillian? At 76, she said, laughing. You're wild. Why not? I said, grinning. I'm healthy, I've got a license, and I've earned this. She raised her cup. To you, Lillian. You're making me want to do something crazy too. The next afternoon, I took a cab to the Porsche showroom, a sleek building of glass and metal. Trevor, the manager, greeted me with a polite smile, though I caught a flicker of surprise in his eyes. Older women didn't often walk in asking for sports cars. Mrs. Trent, welcome, he said. Mr. Clayton said you're interested in our cars. Let's look at some models. I cut to the chase. Show me the 911. He blinked, but led me to a silver Porsche 911, its curves gleaming under the lights. I ran my hand along its side, feeling like I was touching freedom. Can I sit in it? I asked. Trevor opened the door, and I slid into the leather seat, the smell of new car wrapping around me. The steering wheel felt perfect in my hands, the dashboard like a spaceship. It's gorgeous, I said. Any brighter colors? Trevor showed me a guard's red 911, and my heart skipped. It was bold, alive, everything I wanted to be. This is it, I said. How much? He named a price that would have shocked most people. I nodded. And when can I get it? Trevor stammered. 3 months with custom trim, but we need a deposit. I pulled out my checkbook. I'll pay in full. No financing. Just then, the showroom doors opened, and I heard a familiar voice. It's a great investment, Prissy. A car like this holds its value. My blood ran cold. Duncan. Here, in the same dealership with Priscilla. I didn't turn, but my hands shook as I wrote the check. Trevor noticed. Mrs. Trent, everything okay? He asked. Fine, I said, forcing a smile. Then I raised my voice, loud enough for them to hear. Trevor, I'm taking this car. Can I have this one today? I'll pay extra for urgency. The room went quiet. I turned and saw Duncan and Priscilla staring, their faces frozen in shock. Mom. Duncan said, stepping forward. What are you doing here? Buying a car, I said, handing Trevor the check. A Porsche. Priscilla's eyes narrowed. Lillian, are you crazy? That's worth a fortune. I know, I said calmly. And I can afford it. Duncan looked lost. How? Where'd you get that money? I smiled. 40 years of work, Duncan. Smart choices. I'm not the poor merchandiser you thought. Trevor stepped in, sensing the tension. Mrs. Trent, this car's reserved, but we have another red 911 with a black interior. Ready by tomorrow. Perfect, I said. Duncan grabbed my arm. Mom, you can't. It's dangerous at your age. I pulled away. I'm 76, not dead. I have a license, good eyes, steady hands. Unlike some, I won't be reckless. Priscilla tugged Duncan's sleeve. Honey, let's go. She's lost it. I looked at her, my voice steady. No, Priscilla. I'm just being me for the first time in years. Trevor coughed. Mrs. Trent, let's do the paperwork. I followed him, feeling Duncan's and Priscilla's eyes on me. Their shock was my victory, a small payback for years of being pushed aside. The next morning, I returned to the dealership. My red Porsche waited, gleaming in the sunlight. Trevor walked me through its features, then handed me the keys. "Congratulations, Mrs. Trent," he said, shaking my hand. "Enjoy it." I slid behind the wheel, the engine purring as I started it. It wasn't just a car. It was my freedom, my defiance. I drove to River Plaza, getting used to the car's power, feeling the stares of passers-by. When I parked, the concierge, George, gaped. "Mrs. Trent, is that yours?" he asked. "Yes," I said, tossing him the keys. "Put it in my spot, please." He grinned. "Gorgeous car, ma'am." Upstairs, I stood by my window, watching the red Porsche shine below. It was more than metal and leather. It was a symbol of my new life, one where I made the rules. The first morning in my new apartment with my Porsche parked below felt like waking up to a new version of myself. I stood by the window, coffee in hand, watching the river, Severn, reflect the dawn. The red car gleamed like a promise, a reminder that I was no longer the invisible old woman Duncan and Priscilla saw. But as I sipped my coffee, a pang of sadness hit me. Duncan, my little boy who once clung to my hand during thunderstorms, was now a stranger who wanted me gone. I set the cup down, my fingers trembling. I wasn't just angry, I was heartbroken. How had we drifted so far apart? I pushed the thought away and called Eleanor, my oldest friend, needing her warmth. "Lillian, I'm coming over," she said, her voice bright. "I need to see this fancy place and that crazy car of yours." I smiled, grateful for her. When Eleanor arrived, she gasped at the apartment's view. "Lillian, this is amazing," she said, hugging me tight. "You're living like a queen now." We sat on my new emerald green couch, and I told her everything. The confrontation, the Porsche, Duncan's stunned face. Her eyes widened. "You showed them, Lil. But how are you feeling? Really?" I looked at my hands, the wrinkles telling stories of years spent raising Duncan, working, saving. "I'm free," I said softly. "But it hurts. He's my son, Eleanor. I gave him everything, and now," my voice cracked. She squeezed my hand. "You're not alone, Lil. You've got me, and you're building a new life. Don't let them pull you back." Her words warmed me, like sunlight breaking through clouds. That afternoon, I decided to make the apartment my own. I ordered colorful cushions, a fluffy rug, and a heavy oak bookcase from an antique store. Harrison, the store owner, delivered it himself the next day. He was about my age, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. "This is a beauty, Mrs. Trent," he said, patting the bookcase. "Victorian, handmade. They don't make them like this anymore." I ran my hand over its carved edges. "It's perfect," I said. We got to talking over tea, and I found myself laughing for the first time in days. Harrison loved books and jazz just like me. "You should join our book club," he said. "We meet Wednesdays at a cafe. Just a few of us chatting about stories." I nodded, feeling a spark of excitement. "I'd like that," I said. The book club was a revelation. I met Beatrice, a sharp-tongued former teacher, Marcus, a history professor with a quick laugh, Dorothy, a quiet widow who wrote children's books, and Frederick, a retired doctor who loved mysteries. They welcomed me like an old friend. "What do you read, Lillian?" Beatrice asked, her eyes twinkling. "Classics mostly," I said. "Austen, Dickens. But I'm open to new stuff." Marcus leaned in. "Try Ishiguro's The Remains of the Day. It's a masterpiece." I felt alive, surrounded by people who saw me, not just Duncan's mom. We talked for hours, and I left with a new book and a lightness in my chest. But that evening my phone rang. Duncan's name flashed on the screen. My heart sank, a mix of hope and dread. I let it ring, remembering his cold words. Finally I picked up. "Mom, it's me," he said, his voice soft. "I've been calling." "I've been busy," I said, keeping my tone even. "Busy," he said, surprised. "At 8 a.m.? I walked to my balcony, coffee in hand, the river calm below. "I have a life, Duncan. What do you want?" He paused. "I want to apologize. Priscilla and we were wrong. I'm worried about you." I laughed, sharp and bitter. Worried? You weren't worried when you told me to go to a nursing home. He sighed. Mom, please. Can we have lunch Sunday? Just us. Priscilla's cooking your favorite roast beef. I froze. In 5 years, Priscilla never cared what I liked. I'm busy, I said. Eleanor and I are going to Bala Lake. In that Porsche? He asked, his voice tight. Yes, I said. It's mine and I love driving it. He went quiet, then said, Mom, that car's dangerous. What if something happens? My lawyer will contact you, I said, my voice calm but firm. My will's in order. Will, he said, his voice shaking. Mom, you're scaring me. I sipped my coffee, the river glinting below. I'm not scared, Duncan. For the first time, I'm living for me. He begged to meet, just the two of us, at my place. I hesitated, my heart torn. Part of me wanted to shut him out, but another part, the mother who'd always loved him, couldn't. Fine, I said. Tomorrow, 6 p.m. He thanked me, relief in his voice, but I felt uneasy. What did he really want? The next day, I prepared for Duncan's visit. I wore a simple dress, set out tea and cookies, old habits kicking in. At 6 p.m., the intercom buzzed. Visitors, ma'am, the concierge said. Mr. and Mrs. Trent. My stomach dropped. Priscilla was here too? Let them through, I said, bracing myself. They walked in, Duncan in a stiff suit, Priscilla in a dress too fancy for a casual visit. Mom, Duncan said, hugging me awkwardly. Good to see you. I pulled back. Priscilla, I didn't know you were coming. She smiled, fake as ever. I was worried, Lillian. They sat, their eyes scanning my apartment, the view, the furniture. This place is stunning, Priscilla said, her voice tight with envy. I poured tea, my hand steady. So, Duncan, I said, what's this about? He coughed, nervous. Mom, we're worried. The move, the car, it's like you're having a crisis. I laughed, the sound echoing in the quiet room. A crisis? At 76? I'm just living, Duncan. Priscilla leaned in. A Porsche, Lillian? It's crazy. Crazier than pushing me out of my home. I shot back. Duncan flinched. We didn't push you out. We just thought. You thought I was a burden, I said, my voice breaking. You wanted my house, not me. Duncan's eyes dropped. We made a mistake, Mom. Come back. Your room's waiting. Even your old bedroom upstairs. My heart ached, but I saw through them. My flowers, my furniture, my freedom. I asked, will those come back too? Priscilla shifted, uncomfortable. It'll be different, she said. I looked at Duncan, searching for the boy I'd raised. I don't believe you, I said softly. You didn't want me back when you thought I was poor. Now you know I'm not, and suddenly I'm family again. Their silence was louder than any words, and I knew I'd hit the truth. The silence in my River Plaza apartment hung heavy after I called out Duncan and Priscilla's motives. Duncan stared at the floor, his hands clenched, while Priscilla's face twisted with a mix of anger and shame. I sat across from them, my tea growing cold, waiting for them to speak. Finally, Duncan looked up, his eyes wet. Mom, you've got it wrong, he said, his voice shaky. We're not here for your money. We just want you back. My heart twisted, wanting to believe him, but the years of neglect stung too deep. Duncan, I said softly, you didn't want me back when you thought I was just a poor old woman. You wanted my house. Now you know I have money, and suddenly you care. Priscilla jumped in, her voice sharp. Lillian, that's unfair. We're family. We made mistakes, but we're trying to fix them. I looked at her, my calm hiding the storm inside. Family doesn't push family out. Family doesn't forget birthdays or uproot gardens. Duncan's face crumpled. Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't see how much we hurt you. His words sounded real, but I couldn't trust them. Not yet. You didn't see me at all, I said, my voice breaking. For 5 years, I was a ghost in my own home. You let Priscilla decide what I could do, where I could go. You forgot who I am. Priscilla's eyes flashed. You're being dramatic, Lillian. We took care of you. I laughed, bitter and loud. Took care of me? You moved my things to the garage. Threw out my food. Told me my flowers were ugly. That's not care. That's control. Duncan reached for my hand, but I pulled back. Mom, please, he said. Give us a chance. We'll do better. I wanted to scream, to cry, but I kept my voice steady. It's too late, Duncan. I've given you chances. Now I'm choosing me. I stood, signaling the end of the talk. Priscilla's face hardened. So you're cutting us out? Your own son, she said, her voice rising. I'm not cutting Duncan out, I said. He's my son, always will be. But I won't be manipulated anymore. We can meet, talk, but it'll be on my terms. No games, no lies. Duncan's shoulders slumped. What about the house? He asked quietly. You can stay there, I said. For now. But it's mine, and I'll sell it when I'm ready. Priscilla gasped. Sell it? Where will we go? You're adults, I said, my voice firm. You'll figure it out like I did. They left soon after. Duncan's face a mix of guilt and defeat. Priscilla's eyes burning with resentment. I closed the door, my heart heavy but lighter than before. I'd stood my ground. The next morning, I woke to the soft glow of sunlight on my apartment floor. I felt different, like a weight had lifted. I made coffee, stood by the window, and watched my red Porsche gleam below. It wasn't just a car, it was my defiance, my freedom. I called Eleanor, needing her voice. They came last night, I told her, my voice thick. Tried to say they're sorry, but it's all about the money. Eleanor sighed. Lil, you did the right thing. You're not their bank. You're their mother, and they forgot that. I nodded, though she couldn't see. I'm done being invisible, I said. Good, she said. Now let's make this place yours. Want to shop for some art today? I smiled, her excitement catching. Let's do it. We spent the day in Birmingham's art district, browsing galleries. I found a watercolor of a rose garden, its colors soft but bold, like my old garden before Priscilla ruined it. This one, I told the seller, my heart full. Back home, I hung it above my bookcase, the oak one Harrison delivered. It felt right, like reclaiming a piece of myself. That evening, I joined the book club again. Beatrice, Marcus, Dorothy, and Frederick were there, their faces lighting up when I walked in. Lillian, tell us about that car. Marcus said, grinning. I laughed, sharing the story of the Porsche and Duncan's shock. Beatrice clapped. You're a firecracker, Lillian. Most people your age would have given in. I shrugged, my cheeks warm. I'm not most people. We talked about books, life, dreams. For the first time, I felt seen, not as Duncan's mom, but as Lillian, a woman with stories and passions. But the next day, Duncan called again. Mom, can we meet? Just me, he said, his voice quiet. I hesitated, my heart torn between love and caution. Why, Duncan? I asked. I need to make things right, he said. No Priscilla, I promise. I sighed, the mother in me winning. Tomorrow, Italian place near my apartment. 7 p.m. He agreed, and I hung up, my stomach knotted. Was this real or another trick? I spent the day painting, something I hadn't done in years. I set up a small easel by the window, sketching the river. The brush felt natural in my hand, like an old friend. Eleanor stopped by, saw my work, and gasped. Lil, this is beautiful. You're an artist. I blushed. It's just a hobby. No, she said. It's you, coming back to life. Dinner with Duncan was quiet at first. He sat across from me, fidgeting with his napkin. Mom, I messed up, he said finally. I let Priscilla push me. I didn't see you, not really. My throat tightened. You hurt me, Duncan. You chose her over me. His eyes filled with tears. I know. I was selfish. I thought you needed us, but you're stronger than I ever knew. I looked at him, searching for the boy I'd raised. I wanted you to be proud of me, I said, my voice soft. But you made me feel small. He reached for my hand, and this time I let him. I'm proud of you, Mom. The car, the apartment, you're amazing. Can we try again? I wanted to believe him, but trust was hard. Maybe, I said, but it'll take time. He nodded, his face hopeful but sad. As we ate, I felt a flicker of warmth, like a door cracking open. But I wasn't ready to walk through it yet. When I got home, I stood by the window, the city lights twinkling below. My Porsche sat in its spot, a red beacon of my new life. I wasn't just Duncan's mom anymore. I was Lillian, and I was building something new. But the ache for my son lingered, a quiet pain that wouldn't leave. I picked up my paintbrush, letting the colors spill onto the canvas, painting not just the river, but my heart, grief, hope, and strength all mixed together. After dinner with Duncan, I felt a strange mix of hope and doubt swirling in my chest. His words had sounded sincere, but I'd been burned before. I stood by my apartment window, the river Severn shimmering under the moonlight, my red Porsche parked below like a quiet promise. I wanted to believe my son could change, but the memory of his coldness, his betrayal, kept me guarded. The next morning, I woke early, the ache still there. I made coffee and sat on my balcony, the cool air clearing my head. I wasn't ready to let Duncan back in. Not fully, but I also couldn't shut him out completely. He was my son, no matter how much he'd hurt me. I decided to focus on myself, to keep building the life I deserved. I called Eleanor. "Want to go for a drive?" I asked. "In that Porsche," she laughed. "Count me in." We hit the road, the Porsche humming as we drove through Birmingham's outskirts. Eleanor grinned, her scarf flapping in the wind. "Lil, you're a different woman in this car," she said. "I feel different," I admitted, my hand steady on the wheel. "Like I'm finally me." We stopped at a cafe, sipping tea and watching the world go by. "Duncan called you, didn't he?" Eleanor said, her eyes sharp. I nodded, telling her about the dinner, his apology, his tears. "Do you trust him?" she asked. I sighed. "I want to, but it's hard. He's still with Priscilla, and she's poison." Eleanor squeezed my hand. "You're doing right, Lil. Keep your guard up, but don't close your heart. He's still your boy." Back home, I threw myself into my new hobbies. I painted more, my watercolors capturing the river's flow, the city's lights. I joined a watercolor class at the community center, where Zoe, a young artist, taught me new techniques. "You've got a gift, Lillian," she said, studying my sketch of a sunset. "Ever thought of showing your work?" I laughed, shaking my head. "Me? In a gallery? I'm just an old lady with a brush." She smiled. "You're more than that. Age doesn't stop talent." Her words stuck with me, sparking a dream I hadn't dared to dream. Maybe I could share my art, show the world who I was. I started painting bolder, brighter, letting my heart spill onto the canvas. The book club became my anchor. Beatrice, Marcus, Dorothy, and Frederick felt like family, the kind I'd longed for. One evening, Harrison brought up a jazz night at a local club. "Lillian, you love jazz," he said, his eyes twinkling. "Come with us." I hesitated, then nodded. The club was small, the music warm and alive. I swayed to the saxophone, feeling young again. Harrison leaned over. "You look happy," he said. "I am," I replied, surprised to mean it. We talked late into the night, sharing stories of our pasts. Harrison had lost his wife 10 years ago, and his kids lived far away. "This club, these friends," he said, "they keep me going." I nodded, understanding. They were keeping me going too. But Duncan's call came again, pulling me back to reality. "Mom, can we meet again?" he asked, his voice softer than before. "Just us." I gripped the phone, my heart torn. "Why, Duncan?" I asked. "I miss you," he said. "I know I messed up. I want to fix it." I wanted to believe him, but doubt gnawed at me. "Okay," I said finally. "Same place, tomorrow, 7 p.m. The next evening, he was waiting at the Italian restaurant, alone, his face nervous. "No Priscilla?" I asked, sitting down. He shook his head. "She's still at her parents'. We're having problems." My heart skipped, a mix of hope and worry. I'm sorry, I said, meaning it. He looked at me, his eyes raw. Mom, I was wrong. I let her push me, and I pushed you away. I see that now. I studied him, searching for lies. Duncan, you broke my heart, I said, my voice trembling. You made me feel like nothing, like I didn't belong in my own home. He winced, tears in his eyes. I know. I was stupid, selfish. I thought I was doing the right thing, but I was wrong. You're not a burden, Mom. You're incredible. My throat tightened. I wanted to hug him, to forgive him, but the pain held me back. Words aren't enough, I said. You have to show me. He nodded, wiping his eyes. I will. I promise. We ate in quiet, the air heavy but softer than before. When we parted, he hugged me, and I let him, feeling a flicker of the boy-eyed raised. The next day, I painted again, pouring my mixed emotions onto the canvas. Hope for Duncan, pride in my new life, fear of being hurt again. Eleanor stopped by, saw the painting, and gasped. Lil, this is you, she said, pointing to the bold reds and soft blues. Strong, but soft too. I smiled, tears pricking my eyes. I'm trying to be, I said. She hugged me. You're doing more than trying. You're living. That evening, I got a call from Zoe, my art teacher. Lillian, there's a local gallery looking for new artists. I showed them your work, and they want to meet you. My heart raced. Me? Are you sure? Dead sure, she said. You're ready. I hung up, my mind spinning. A gallery? Me at 76? The idea scared me, but it also lit a fire inside. I looked out at my Porsche, its red shine catching the streetlights. It was time to take another leap. The idea of my paintings in a gallery kept me awake that night, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. I lay in my River Plaza apartment, the quiet hum of the city outside, and thought about how far I'd come. Just months ago, I was a shadow in my own home, pushed aside by Duncan and Priscilla. Now I was painting, driving a Porsche, living for myself. But the ache for my son lingered, like a bruise that wouldn't fade. His last visit, his tears, his promise to change, they stirred hope but also doubt. Could I trust him again? I got up, made tea, and stood by the window, watching the river Severn catch the dawn's light. My red Porsche gleamed below, a symbol of my freedom, but also a reminder of the family I'd lost. I wanted Duncan back, the boy who'd picked flowers for me, not the man who'd pushed me out. I met Zoe at the gallery the next day, my stomach in knots. The space was small but warm, with soft lights and colorful paintings on the walls. Zoe introduced me to Clara, the gallery owner, a woman with kind eyes and a quick smile. Lillian, your work is special, Clara said, looking at my watercolor of the river. It's raw, honest. People will connect with it. I blushed, my hand shaking. I'm just an amateur, I said. I haven't painted in years. Clara shook her head. You're an artist. Age doesn't matter. Emotion does. Her words hit me hard, like she'd seen the real me, the one I'd hidden for so long. We agreed to show 3 of my paintings in a group exhibit next month. I left the gallery feeling light, like I could fly. Eleanor was waiting at a cafe nearby, her eyes bright. Well, how'd it go? She asked. I grinned, still dazed. They want my paintings, Ellie. In a gallery. She clapped, pulling me into a hug. Lil, you're a star. I knew you had it in you. We ordered tea, laughing like schoolgirls, but then she got serious. What about Duncan? Any more calls? I sighed, the joy fading. Not since dinner. He said he wants to fix things, but I don't know. It hurts too much. Eleanor nodded. He's your son, Lil. That love doesn't go away, but you don't have to let him hurt you again. You're stronger now. I squeezed her hand, grateful for her honesty. She was right, I was stronger, but my heart still ached for the family I'd lost. That evening, I went to the book club, needing the comfort of my new friends. Beatrice, Marcus, Dorothy, and Harrison welcomed me with smiles. Lillian heard about the gallery. Marcus said, raising his coffee cup. To our artist. I laughed, my cheeks warm. It's just a small show, I said. Small. Beatrice snorted. You're putting yourself out there. That's huge. We talked about books, but the conversation turned to life, dreams, regrets. Harrison shared how he'd started his antique store after losing his wife, a way to keep going. You remind me of me, Lillian, he said quietly. You're finding your spark again. His words warmed me, like a blanket on a cold night. I wasn't alone anymore. But the next morning, Duncan called again, his voice hesitant. Mom, can I come over? Just to talk. My heart skipped, torn between hope and fear. What's this about, Duncan? I asked, my voice steady. I miss you, he said. I know I messed up. I want to try again. I paused, remembering his promises, his betrayal. Okay, I said finally. Tomorrow, 6 p.m. My place. When he arrived, he was alone, his face tired, like he hadn't slept. Priscilla's still at her parents', he said, sitting on my couch. We're fighting. A lot. I poured tea, my hand steady but my heart racing. I'm sorry, I said, meaning it. What happened? He looked down, his voice low. She's mad about the house, the money. She thinks I'm weak for wanting to fix things with you. I sat across from him, my chest tight. Duncan, why are you here? Really? He looked up, his eyes wet. I don't want to lose you, Mom. I see now how much I hurt you. I was blind, letting Priscilla call the shots. I'm sorry. His voice broke, and I felt tears prick my eyes. You made me feel like nothing, I said, my voice shaking, like I was a problem to solve. He nodded, wiping his face. I know. I was wrong. You're not a problem. You're amazing. The Porsche, the apartment, your paintings, I'm proud of you. My heart softened, but I held firm. I need more than words, Duncan. You broke my trust. He nodded. I'll show you. I'll do better. We sat in silence, the air heavy but not angry. I wanted to believe him, but the pain was still raw. The next day, I painted, pouring my feelings onto the canvas. Grief for the son I'd lost, hope for the man he might become. Eleanor came by, saw the painting, and hugged me. This is your heart, Lil, she said. It's beautiful. I smiled, tears falling. I'm trying to find my way, I said. She nodded. You are. And you're doing it with style. That evening, Clara called from the gallery. Lillian, we sold one of your paintings already, she said. My jaw dropped. Sold? Already. Yes, she laughed. People love your work. Keep painting. I hung up, my heart soaring. I looked out at my Porsche, its red glow catching the sunset. It wasn't just a car, it was my courage, my new life. But Duncan's face lingered in my mind, his tears, his promise. Could we rebuild? I wasn't sure, but for the first time, I felt ready to try on my terms. The sale of my painting felt like a small miracle, a spark that lit up my new life. I stood in my apartment, staring at the empty spot on the wall where the watercolor had hung, my heart full of pride, but also a quiet ache. I was becoming someone new. Lillian, the artist, the woman who drove a red Porsche, but the shadow of Duncan's betrayal lingered. His last visit, his tearful apology, had cracked open a door in my heart, but I wasn't ready to walk through it. I sipped my morning tea, the river, Severn Combe below, and wondered if I'd ever trust him again. The phone rang, pulling me from my thoughts. It was Eleanor. Lil, you sold a painting, she squealed. We're celebrating. Dinner at my place tonight, okay? I smiled, her voice like a warm hug. I'm in, I said, already looking forward to her laughter. That day, I went to my watercolor class, my brush moving with new confidence. Zoe, my teacher, grinned as I showed her my latest piece, a vibrant sketch of my Porsche against the river. Lillian, this is bold, she said. You're not holding back anymore. I blushed, my heart swelling. I'm trying, I said. After class, I stopped by the book club cafe, where Harrison was waiting with a cup of tea. Heard about your painting, he said, his eyes kind. You're full of surprises, Lillian. We talked about art, music, life. He told me about his antique store, how it kept him connected to his late wife's love for old things. "You're building something new," he said softly. "It's inspiring." I looked down, my throat tight. "I'm trying to find myself again," I said. He nodded. "You're doing more than that. You're shining." Dinner at Eleanor's was warm and loud. Her small house filled with the smell of roast chicken and her grandkids' chatter. "To Lillian, the artist!" she toasted, raising her glass. I laughed, my cheeks warm, but the joy felt fragile. As we ate, I told her about Duncan's visit, his promise to change. "He says he's sorry, Ellie," I said, my voice low. "But I don't know if I can believe him." She set her fork down, her eyes serious. "Lil, you love him. That's why it hurts. But you don't have to rush. Let him prove himself." I nodded, her words grounding me. I just miss the boy he was," I said, my voice breaking. She hugged me tight. "He's still in there, somewhere. But you're not that mom anymore. You're Lillian, and you're enough." The next day, I got a call from Duncan. "Mom, can we talk again?" he asked, his voice soft. My heart clenched, torn between hope and fear. "What's left to say, Duncan?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. "I just want to see you," he said. "No agenda. Just us." I hesitated, the memory of his cold words clashing with his recent tears. "Fine," said. "Tomorrow, my place, 6 p.m. When he arrived, he looked worn, his eyes red. "Priscilla's moving out," he said, sitting on my couch. "She's staying with her parents for good." My heart stopped. "What happened?" I asked, sitting across from him. He rubbed his face. "She's obsessed with the house, the money. She can't let it go. I told her I'm done pushing you away. She didn't like that." I stared at him, my mind racing. Was this real or another trick? "Duncan, you let her control you for years," I said, my voice trembling. "Why now?" He looked at me, his eyes raw. "Because I'm losing you, Mom. I see it now. The Porsche, the apartment, your paintings, your living, and I'm not part of it. I don't want that." Tears pricked my eyes. "You hurt me, Duncan. You made me feel like nothing." He nodded, his voice breaking. "I know. I was weak. I let her make me someone I'm not. I want to be your son again." My heart ached, torn between love and caution. "I want that too," I said softly. "But trust takes time. You have to show me." He nodded, wiping his eyes. "I will, Mom. I swear." The next morning, I painted, my brush moving with a mix of grief and hope. The canvas showed the river, but darker, stormier, like my heart. Eleanor stopped by, saw it, and hugged me. "You're carrying a lot, Lil," she said, "but you're strong enough for it." I nodded, tears falling. "I'm trying, Ellie. I want to believe in Duncan, but it's hard." She smiled. "You're doing more than trying. You're living, and that's what matters." That afternoon, Clara called from the gallery. "Lillian, your paintings are a hit," she said. "We want a solo show for you next month." My jaw dropped. "A solo show? Me?" "Yes, you," she laughed. "People love your story, your heart." I hung up, my hand shaking. A solo show? At 76? I looked out at my Porsche, its red shine catching the light. It was more than a car. It was my courage, my proof that I could start over. That evening, I went to the jazz club with Harrison and the book club. The music wrapped around me, soothing the ache in my chest. Harrison leaned over. "You're glowing, Lillian," he said. I smiled, my heart full. "I'm trying to," I said. We danced slow and easy, and for a moment, I forgot the pain of Duncan's betrayal. I was just Lillian, alive and free. But as I drove home in my Porsche, Duncan's face flashed in my mind, his tears, his promise. Could we rebuild? I wasn't sure, but the possibility felt like a small light in the dark, guiding me forward. The news of a solo gallery show left me dizzy, like I was standing on the edge of something big. I sat in my River Plaza apartment, staring at the watercolor I'd just finished. A stormy river with a single red rose floating on it, my heart in paint. I was 76, and life was opening up in ways I'd never imagined. But Duncan's last visit, His broken voice, saying he'd lost me, stayed with me. I loved him, always would, but the hurt ran deep. Could I let him back in? I made tea, the steam curling in the morning light, and looked out at my Porsche, its red shine a quiet reminder of my strength. The phone rang, snapping me out of my thoughts. It was Eleanor. "Lil, a solo show?" "You're a superstar," she said, her voice bright. "Come over. We need to plan." I laughed, her excitement pulling me up. "I'll be there," I said. At Eleanor's, we sat with tea and biscuits, her cozy kitchen warm with the smell of baking. "You're doing things I never dreamed of," she said, her eyes shining. "But how's your heart? Duncan's call shook you up." I sighed, my fingers tracing the cup's rim. "He says he's sorry, Ellie. Says he's done with Priscilla's games. But I'm scared. What if he hurts me again?" She leaned forward, her hand on mine. "You're not that woman anymore, Lil. You're strong, living for you. If Duncan wants to be part of this, he has to earn it." I nodded, tears pricking my eyes. "I miss him, Ellie, the boy he was, but I don't know if I can trust the man he's become." She hugged me tight. "You'll figure it out. You always do." That afternoon, I went to the gallery to meet Clara. She showed me the space for my show, a bright corner with big windows. "Your paintings tell a story, Lillian," she said. "Loss, strength, starting over. People feel it." I looked at my work on the walls, my heart swelling. "I never thought I'd be here," I said, my voice soft. "AK," Clara smiled. "You're here now. Keep painting your truth." I left feeling alive, like I was finally being seen. At the book club that evening, my friends toasted to my show. "Lillian, you're an inspiration," Beatrice said, her voice warm. Harrison squeezed my shoulder. "You're showing us all how to live," he said. I smiled, my cheeks hot, but their words filled me with pride. These people saw me, not just as an old lady, but as a woman with a story worth telling. The next day, Duncan showed up at my apartment, his face pale, his eyes tired. "Mom, I filed for divorce," he said, sitting on my couch, his voice heavy. My heart stopped. "Divorce?" I asked, setting down my tea. He nodded, rubbing his hands together. "Priscilla's gone too far. She's obsessed with money, the house. I can't live like that. I want to be better for you." I stared at him, my chest tight. "Duncan, this is big. Are you sure?" He looked up, tears in his eyes. "I've never been surer. I lost you, Mom. I won't lose myself, too." His words hit me hard, a mix of pain and hope. "You broke my heart," I said, my voice shaking. "You made me feel like I didn't matter." He flinched, nodding. "I know. I was wrong. I want to earn your trust back, even if it takes years." I wanted to hug him, to tell him it was okay, but the hurt held me back. "Show me, Duncan," I said softly. "Words aren't enough." He nodded, his face raw. "I will. I promise." After he left, I sat alone, my heart a tangle of emotions. I loved him, but trust was a fragile thing, and mine was still cracked. I painted that night, the canvas filling with dark waves and a faint light on the horizon, my hope and fear in color. The next morning, Eleanor called. "Ready for a crazy idea," she said. "Let's take a road trip. You, me, that Porsche. Cornwall's coast, 10 days of freedom." I laughed, the idea sparking joy. "You're serious?" I asked. "Dead serious," she said. "We dreamed of adventures when we were young. Let's do it now." I looked out at my car, its red glow calling me. "Let's go," I said, my heart racing. We planned the trip over tea, mapping out coastal towns, castles, beaches. "This is us, Lil," Eleanor said. "Living for ourselves." I nodded, tears in my eyes. Better late than never. The day before we left, Duncan called. "Mom, I heard about your trip," he said, his voice soft. "Sounds amazing." I smiled, surprised he sounded happy for me. "It will be," I said. "Eleanor's coming. We're driving the Porsche." He laughed, a real laugh, like the boy I remembered. "You're incredible, Mom. Be careful, okay?" I felt a warmth in my chest, small but real. I will, I said. And Duncan? Keep your promise. He went quiet, then said, I will, Mom. I swear. I hung up, my heart lighter, but still cautious. I packed my bags, my watercolors, my courage. Cornwall was waiting, and so was my new life. As I looked at my Porsche, I felt ready for the road, for the future, for whatever came next. The road to Cornwall stretched before us, the Porsche purring as Eleanor, and I drove through rolling hills and past shimmering seas. The wind whipped through my hair, the engines hum a song of freedom. I glanced at Eleanor, her face lit with a grin, and felt alive, truly alive, for the first time in years. We stopped at a cliff overlooking the Atlantic. Waves crashing below, the air salty and sharp. Lil, we did it, Eleanor said, her voice soft with wonder. All those years dreaming, and here we are. I raised my water bottle, laughing. To us, Ellie, to living no matter our age. We clinked bottles, the sunset painting the sky red like my car. But even in that moment of joy, Duncan's face lingered in my mind, his tears, his promise to change. I wanted to believe him, but my heart was still healing. Our 10 days in Cornwall were a blur of beauty. We wandered through quaint villages, ate fish and chips by the harbor, explored old castles with crumbling walls. My Porsche turned heads everywhere, people staring as 2 older women stepped out, laughing like kids. That's your car, a young man at a gas station asked, eyes wide. You ladies are legends. Eleanor giggled, nudging me. Told you, Lil. You're a rock star. I smiled, my heart full. At night, we stayed in cozy B&Bs, sipping cider and talking about life. I painted every day, my watercolors capturing the sea's wild blues and the cliff's rugged grays. These are your best yet, Eleanor said, looking at my sketch of a stormy beach. You're painting your soul. I nodded, tears pricking my eyes. She was right. I was finding myself again, piece by piece. Back in Birmingham, the gallery show loomed. Clara helped me pick 10 paintings, each one a slice of my heart. Grief, hope, freedom. The night of the show, I wore a bright blue dress, my pearl necklace catching the light. My hands shook as I walked in, the room buzzing with people. Eleanor, Harrison, Beatrice, Marcus, Dorothy, and Frederick were there, their faces proud. Lillian, this is incredible, Harrison said, his hand warm on my shoulder. Clara introduced me to the crowd, her voice clear. Lillian Trent's work is about resilience, about living boldly at any age. I blushed, my heart racing as people clapped. 3 more paintings sold that night, and strangers came up, saying my art moved them. Your stories in these colors, one woman said, her eyes kind. I smiled, my throat tight. Thank you, I said, feeling seen in a way I hadn't in years. Duncan called the next morning, his voice nervous. Mom, I heard about your show. It sounds amazing. I smiled, surprised by the warmth in his tone. It was, I said. You should have seen it. He paused. Can I come to the next one? I want to be there. My heart skipped, torn between hope and caution. Maybe, I said, if you mean it. I do, he said, his voice breaking. I'm trying, Mom. I'm seeing a counselor, working on myself. I want to be the son you deserve. Tears filled my eyes. Then show me, Duncan, I said softly. Keep trying. He promised he would, and when I hung up, I felt a small light grow inside me, a hope that we could rebuild, slowly on my terms. I sold the Maplewood house that fall to a young family with 2 kids, their laughter echoing as they ran through the garden. It felt right, like the house would live again. Duncan and Priscilla, now separated, found a small apartment in the suburbs. Duncan and I started meeting weekly for coffee, talking about small things, books, movies, his job. He never mentioned money or the house, and I saw glimpses of the boy I'd raised, the one who loved me without strings. I'm proud of you, Mom, he said one day, his eyes clear. You're living big. I smiled, my heart softening. I'm trying, Duncan, and I'm proud you're trying too. It wasn't perfect, But it was a start, a fragile bridge we were building, step by step. My life bloomed in ways I never expected. I painted more, my work shone in another gallery. I joined a dance class, swaying to Latin rhythms, my body lighter than my years. Eleanor bought a sea green scooter, zipping around Birmingham to her kids' horror and her grandkids' delight. "You inspired me, Lil," she said, grinning. Harrison and I grew closer, our friendship a quiet comfort, maybe something more someday. We planned a trip to Scotland, me and my Porsche, Eleanor on her scooter, a new adventure waiting. Every morning, I woke with a spark, ready for the day. I was Lillian Trent, artist, traveler, free. The mirror showed my gray hair, my wrinkles, but also my eyes alive with purpose. The moral of my story settled in my heart as I looked back. Life doesn't end at 76 or any age. It's never too late to choose yourself, to break free from others' expectations, to live boldly. I had spent years putting Duncan first, letting his needs eclipse mine. But when I stood up, when I drove that red Porsche, when I painted my truth, I found a life richer than I'd dreamed. Duncan and I were finding our way, not as before, but better, honest, equal. And as I looked out at the river, my canvas waiting, I knew one thing. I was no longer a shadow. I was Lillian, and I was enough.